Okay, so this video is designed to explain how final expense products, rating classes, and different types of underwriting works. So if you're a brand new agent to final expense and you're finding it confusing, discerning the differences in how, say, level, graded, modified, or guaranteed issue product works, this is going to be the perfect video to listen to, because I'm just going to take as much time as I need to explain from an educational standpoint how these product works, what the differences are, so that when you start thumbing through your agent guides and looking at the different final expense products, you can confidently say, okay, great, I understand how these works. I understand which ones would be good and which ones I'm trying to get, which type of products we should probably avoid given the circumstances. All in all, you should feel more confident when you go into the field face-to-face over the phone, sell final expense, knowing how these plans work, how these products work, and which ones to confidently recommend to your clients. I'm David DeFord, owner of DeFord Insurance Group. I train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense, Medicare, and annuities face-to-face and over the phone. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, as I like to say, I appreciate you watching my content very much. Thank you so much. So how do final expense products work? So we know what final expense is, right? So final expense is a simplified issue whole life product. That means simply that rates never increase, coverage never cancels due to age or health, and upon the death of the client, the beneficiary receives the death benefit at any point, and depending on the length of time, if any, the the coverage will be paid out whether it's natural or accidental deaths. Now, there's some modifications there that we'll talk about here in a minute, but that's generally the basic idea of how final expense products work. Now, depending on the underwriting of the company and the health of the client, there are different variations of this product, because some people are in desperate, terrible health and others are perfectly healthy. So we have plans that will cover all of those circumstances. And the way that these plans are going to differentiate is basically on when the natural death coverage component comes into place. Sometimes with the healthiest, it'll be immediate from the first payment. And with the least healthiest, it'll take several years before the coverage covers the client fully 100% for natural death. So let's talk about the most common product you're going to write, which is called a level death benefit. So for final expense, a level death benefit means upon the death of the client, and as long as the plan is effective at the time of death, that a full payout will be paid to the beneficiary if the client dies from either accidental death or natural death. This is the best plan we can get our clients. And it makes sense, right? If we were selling your grandma or mom, would we want to get her as fast as possible coverage in place for any kind of death that would happen, right? So likewise, we want to do the same for our senior clients as well. And level coverage generally is for people who are in the healthiest of shapes. They don't have to be in perfect shape, but according to the underwriting, they usually have to answer all the questions no in order to qualify for level coverage. Now, there will be times when you can't get level coverage because of the existing health issue. Maybe the client has COPD, or they recently had a heart attack 18 months ago. They're not in bad shape. They're not on their deathbed, but they're not in perfect shape either. This is where a graded plan may come into place, and a graded plan is where you receive partial coverage in the first and second year of the policy before it's full coverage in the third year and beyond. So for example, there are a lot of graded plans that will pay a 30% death benefit in the first year, which then grows to a 70% death benefit if the client dies in the second year. And then in the third year and beyond, after 24 months, the beneficiary receives the full death benefit at any point thereafter. Now, graded sometimes can be not 30-70%. Sometimes it's 40-75%. And sometimes companies will say their product is graded, but it is what's known more as a 2-year wait product, where if the client dies within 2 years, the money paid in is paid back to the beneficiary plus a percentage rate, usually around 10%. So when you look at a company's graded plan, make sure you check out their agent guide to see how they define what graded means. It's not something that is, the same across the board depending on who you're dealing with. So sometimes you'll have companies have what's called a modified plan. A modified plan basically is a 2-year waiting period policy for natural death. Now, accidental death is covered 100% with modified plans and graded plans, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. But for natural death with modified plans, it's not fully protected for the full death benefit until 2 years have passed or 24 months have passed. And if they die within the first 2 months, they get the premium payments back plus 10% interest. The last plan here to discuss is guaranteed issue coverage. Guaranteed issue has no underwriting. It's guaranteed to be issued as long as the client is mentally competent and that they also are old enough to qualify or young enough too. So some usually between 50 and 80 is the standard age range. And as long as they can do that, they're protected. But there is a 2-year waiting period policy where, just like the modified plans, if they die within the first 2 years, then the beneficiary receives the premiums plus interest. And then beyond 2 years, if the client dies, then it's a full death benefit payout. Now, what's the difference between modified and guaranteed issue? Kind of sounds like the same 2-year waiting period setup. It is. Modified has health questions generally. And also, modified tends to be higher priced. There are companies that we have agencies or agents use that offer modified coverage, but I rarely recommend it and typically recommend guaranteed issue because modified is greatly more expensive and a little bit out of the realm of utility for most of our agents as far as usefulness. Because if you write an overpriced plan, you're probably going to get a client to say no, or maybe even they say yes, you'll get replaced in 3 to 6 months when another agent comes in. So it's wise, I think, to use guaranteed issue more often than modified plans, simply because it's a better price in most circumstances. The one last thing I'll add here that I think is useful is go back to our level coverage, full natural and accidental death from the first payment date and beyond. There are variations of level coverage called standard and preferred. So all that means is a difference in pricing. A preferred pricing has a better price than standard pricing. Okay, so some companies have a preferred and a standard level product. It is a level product like we described, but there's one that's better priced than another. Make sense? So you will run into that sometimes. And then other products, there is no standard or preferred designation. It's either just a level graded or a level modified, and that's it, right? But level, whether it's level, standard, or preferred, they're all first day full coverage for natural and accidental death from the first payment date. But the preferred and the standard just indicate a difference in rate class. Standard is higher, preferred is less expensive. So I hope this gives you a decent overview of how these final expense products work. I will add a few more things actually before I conclude. A lot of these final expense plans offer riders. I'm not a big rider guy personally. Riders are just additional things that you add to the plan to kind of enhance the value. I never really thought much about the riders, like for example, accidental death benefit. You can enhance the accidental death benefit payout. I've done some videos on accidental death. Just check those out if you want to see my kind of screed against them. You can also get children's term riders. That sometimes can be useful. The one riders I guess I would like are the automatic premium loan rider. There are no additional costs. They basically pay premiums if the client misses payment, if there's cash value. And then the accelerated death benefit form is free and it can be useful if the client needs the money before they pass away. So, but other than that, that's pretty much how we look at how final expense products work. If you have any comments or questions about how they work and you would like me to expand on anything, just leave them below. I'm happy to help out with clarifying anything in particular. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you and hope you learned something about these final expense products and hopefully at least made it a little easier to understand. If you want to learn more about joining my agency, just click the links above or below to learn more. And thanks for watching. Y'all take care. Bye.